Alright, we're going to do this really quick, okay? So you have the initial object, then you have the initial comment about the initial object, the object of context. Whatever the context the conversation is about, you have the initial object or whatever you're talking about, okay? The initial object of context, then you have the initial comment about that object. The initial comment shows off what the initial commenter's system of values is by the way that they talk about it, what they decide to talk about, what their opinion about the thing is, how they see the world within that object of context, and what they, who they are. Pretty much plainly why you say something is, in the first place is this is how I feel about that, that you're showing who you are. That's the whole point. Then you have the secondary comment by the secondary commenter, okay? So the initial commenter reveals his system of values through his comment on the object of context. The secondary commenter has the luxury of not only understanding the object of context, but also understanding the initial commenter's system of values. So by commenting the secondary comment, the secondary commenter can explain the relationship between the two commenters. Secondary comment exposes the system of values of the secondary commenter, which exposes the difference between the two systems of values. Now the initial commenter makes the reply, which is after the secondary comment, you see. So the initial commenter can reply to the secondary comment now using subcontext, because there is a subcontext between the two of them, which is the relationship between the two commenters. You have the initial context, which both the comments are about, which the reply is also about, but the reply can have an implication within the context that talks about the subcontext between the two of them. You see? So the reply can talk about two things at once. Two things at once. It can talk about one, the context, and two, the subcontext. See? This is how conversation works. Then you have the secondary reply, which talks about the initial commenter's system of values based on how they decided to reply and how they decided to interpret the relationship between the two characters based on the two comments. So the understanding of the conversation, the understanding of the subcontext, is what the secondary reply can then reply to with its subcontext. It can also kind of go back and forth with that thing if it wants, but anyway. And you kind of just go on like that, understanding each other at every second. Every reply that goes back and forth understands the last one's reply by its understanding of the last several things as it goes along in the conversation. And the initial context of the conversation comes along the whole way. The entire time that you're talking about whatever you're talking about, you also have this conversational flow of the relationship between the two people. That's a wrap.